Good morning. Today we're going to talk about food intolerances. This is a very misunderstood subject, and it's vitally important because this is what drives a lot of different aspects of chronic illness. And everybody that has chronic illness has some degree or another of food intolerances. So we'll get into this. This is Your Health Reclaimed, where we expose the root causes that fuel Lyme and chronic illness so you can finally heal. We help you understand and heal the root causes of Lyme and chronic illness so you can reclaim your health and restore your life. I'm Dr. Brad Montagne, veteran functional medicine doctor. We're the ones that people come to after they've been to multiple doctors, exhausted all of their resources of doctors, sometimes other resources too, and the other doctors were not able to help them at all, and we get over 90% of those healthy again. So today we're going to cover food intolerances, and let's jump into this. Food allergy is a small part of food intolerances. All the testing that people do is for food allergies, not food intolerances. The food allergies only make up 2 to 3% of what the food intolerances are. And that's primarily through the IgE, that's immunoglobulins, and the IgM pathway. IgM is commonly used in testing, but all IgM antigens mean is that you got exposed to that sometime in life. It's not an active allergic response. It's just that at one point in time, you got exposed to it. IgE is the immunoglobulin that responds primarily to parasites and allergens. As I said, the food allergies are only 2 to 3% of the potential responses that they typically test through these pathways. Doesn't matter how much you spend. So over 20 years ago, it was about $20,000 for a full, one of the best, more accurate food allergy testing out there. And for 2 to 3% accurate, that's really not worthwhile even looking at because it's pretty much all over the map. The reason why it's that low in accuracy, first of all, the ELISA tests, they may be state of the art, but they're just not that accurate at all. We look at the ELISA test of Lyme disease, 0 to 20% accurate. If they're taken in the first 1 to 2 weeks of infection, that's an old standard that hygienics used to have on their website maybe a decade or so ago, farther back than that even. And now they just have on their website their tests are not a diagnosis. We look at the bulk of tests that people are using for functional medicine and natural medicine sources. Their accuracy is incredibly low, and people aren't really aware of that. The Candida testing from the cancer research out there has no clinical relevance to what's going on with the Candida, and it does nothing to help them direct the course of care to change any outcomes. Candida is one of the primary ways where people with cancer actually end up dying. So it's almost always involved. And Candida can actually morph into cancer, and cancer can morph into Candida. So that's huge. So we look at the OATS test, the CDSA, all of the other things out there, and we got the same type of an issue. With the food intolerances, the reason why they're this inaccurate is there's such a wide variety of interactions that go on with foods that they have no idea what causes the mechanisms. And since they don't have an idea on what causes them, they have no way to test them. So that's one of the reasons. So if we look at the response patterns that go on with food intolerances. I'm going to start in the gut because that's where food comes in through, mostly in the gut. Can be airborne. We can get that through the lungs. And that's pretty common with some of the stronger food intolerances, especially if people are around cooking where those intolerances are used. So we can't rule that out, but the primary entrance of food intolerances should be through the mouth and through the gut. So we'll start there with a response. The lining of the gut is only one cell layer thick. It's called the mucosa. The submucosa below that, that's where all the blood vessels run, the nervous system runs, your immune system hangs out, and over half of our immune system is in the gut lining. So it's significant, and that is designed that way because that's the most likely route of microbes, toxins, parasites, all that stuff trying to get into our body. It's just the most logical, reasonable way for it to come in. And the immune system's there to try and deal with that. If we look at that one cell layer thick of the gut lining, if you hold your hand up in front of your face so your fingers are extended, your fingers represent the shape of the lining in the gut, and those finger projections inside the gut lining are called microvilli. Those microvilli, they increase the surface area of the gut about 400 times. It's real close to that. And it makes a huge, huge surface area to be able to absorb nutrients and do all the exchange that goes on with digestion. If that was a smooth pipe, the surface area of the gut would be about 6 square feet. With a microvilli, it's the size of a tennis court. So it's pretty big as far as that goes. And the microvilli, they secrete a mucus, and that mucus, it fills the space in between your fingers and caps over the top just lightly. That's where all the gut microbiota lives, the gut flora. It lives in the mucus in between the microvilli. When there's food intolerances, those microvilli start to atrophy, and it's just like if you roll your hand into a fist and you roll it up so you're just looking at your knuckles. There's just a few little bumps on the gut wall. When that happens, there's not a surface to hold the mucus anymore. There's nowhere near the surface to produce the mucus. So the mucus just kind of wipes away, goes down in the toilet. With that, so goes the microbiota, the gut flora. With the gut flora gone, the good microbes gone, the pathogens can grow unchecked. So as this atrophy, before the atrophy happens, there's what holds the cells together is what's called a tight junction. And it's much like Velcro. Zonulin is the most studied protein in that tight junction that holds that together. And inflammatory intolerance issues can relax that tight junction, and that can allow undigested foods, toxins, microbes to get into the bloodstream. Once that starts to happen, it starts to cause the immune system in the gut wall to go into an alarm state, and the immune system starts to attack these toxins that are coming through the tight junctions. Well, it so happens that some of those toxins are coming through the tight junctions. They're looking for places to hide. They'll hide in the mucosal cells. Some of them are coming through the mucosal cells, and where those tight junctions are being relaxed, the immune system starts to attack those, and it starts to blow holes in it. So this creates a leaky gut, first from the tight junctions opening, and then when the surface area starts to get holes blown in from autoimmune responses, it goes from just barely leaking to something you could drive a truck through, so to speak. So once that starts to leak like that, the immune system starts to attack the gut wall. You start to have autoimmune responses in the gut wall. All of that leaky gut starts to allow these super antigens to get into the blood, LPS lipopolysaccharides is one of those superantigens that causes autoimmune responses everywhere in the body. Once it gets into the bloodstream, next stop is the liver. When the gut's leaking like this, the liver can't catch everything. And the liver is only one of four detox organs. The other three organs are inside of the gut. So three-quarters of the immune function or the detox function is paralyzed. So that overwhelms the liver, it spills out systemically, and that makes it so the secondary elimination organs have to kick in. Those secondary elimination organs are the skin and the lung. And there's a third one for women when they're cycling. As the flow starts to happen, that's another process in which she can detox only in that time when she's cycling. So what can't escape out through the skin, lungs, or menses, that then it starts to try and find places to hide. And the most likely places for it to hide is in fat tissues. So the brain and the whole nervous system, that's fat tissue. We've got fat inside of our abdomen, underneath our skin. That's more fat tissue. Every hormone-producing gland that we have is at least 50% fat. So these food intolerances, these food intolerances start to create this global toxicity. That toxicity starts to go into the brain, starts to give brain fog. It starts to go into the thyroid, which is one of endocrine glands. It shuts the thyroid down very quickly. It goes into the adrenal. It shuts the adrenal down fairly quickly. And this is really what some of the biggest causes of like Hashimoto's and autoimmune issues inside of the thyroid adrenal dysregulation problems. This is a big part of what's going on is the detox issues. And the thyroid is what controls all your mitochondria. So all these mitochondrial resuscitating supplements and programs and all that, the reason why they don't work very well is because what's driving the dysfunction is toxicity taking out the thyroid function, and the thyroid controls how many mitochondria, the powerhouses in the cells, how many are in each cell, how active they are, how big they are. So all this stuff, all our metabolic function starts to get shut down with all this. So once it goes systemic and it doesn't make it out the secondary elimination organs, which, by the way, is going out the lungs. That's one of the biggest causes of asthma is toxicity from a leaking gut. And it's also really the biggest cause of all of your rashes on your skin, eczema, psoriasis, all that is because of leaky gut with all of these toxins escaping. So that starts to create these autoimmune responses in things. And once the toxicity gets outside of the gut and the liver, the detox pathway is supposed to just keep things rolling from the gut and the liver. Then the immune system is just a very, very poor detoxifier. So once it goes systemic, it doesn't work very well to detox at all. And we just start getting all these autoimmune responses in all these tissues that the toxins try and hide in, because the immune system no longer recognizes you as you. It recognizes the toxicity in the cells that are you as foreign invaders, and it just starts to attack them. So that's part of the reason why the research shows that if you restore the integrity of the gut lining and the gut flora, autoimmune responses just resolve on their own. So, and that study is out of the American Journal of Pathology, I believe is 2008. So this is what all of these food intolerances cause. And people are told they got some new rare disease when it's not a new rare disease at all. It's just dysfunction happening that snowballs into these global effects that really affect everything. So we look at some of the foods that actually cause these global toxicity issues. Number one on the list, I call it an evil food, is corn. And the reason why corn is such an evil food is because of the herbicides and pesticides they use to grow it. Everybody's aware of Roundup or glyphosate. The difference between glyphosate and Roundup, Roundup has a surfactant put on it. It's much like a soap, a dish soap, and that spreads everything across everything. It's 4 times more effective than glyphosate, Roundup is. And most may not be aware of this, but glyphosate was first introduced into the market as a drain cleaner because it chelates minerals. It pulls them out of things, changes their structure and how they're made up. Inside of us, it chelates our minerals, and that makes it so we don't have minerals to do our metabolic function. Detox is one of those pathways that shuts down. So corn has Roundup on it, but it also has atrazine. Atrazine is way, way worse than glyphosate and Roundup. It's atrazine that in the runoff of the cornfields, it gets into the waterways. It makes male frogs grow female reproductive systems that can produce eggs that are fertilizable, turned into tadpoles that's highly mutagenic. It's really wicked stuff. And if you do a search on Roundup or glyphosate, a Google search, you'll see maybe half a page of stuff. You look up atrazine, 3 pages, and you haven't exhausted what you're going to find there. So this is one of the biggest things that causes all that problem. All of those herbicides and pesticides, those paralyze the microbes inside of our gut so they can't digest, they can't detox, and it creates this inflammatory response, start blowing holes in the gut wall. Wheat's another one. People commonly aren't aware of this, but 95% of the hard wheat crop in America is sprayed with Roundup just before harvest. And that can be 2 to 3 days to 2 to 3 weeks before harvest. And that makes the crop completely toxic. Anything that feeds off of wheat and corn is really toxic. You take the whole dairy industry, it's toxic because of what they're feeding it. You look at commercial meats, they all go to the feedlot. That's done with grains that are laden with atrazine, Roundup, and other toxic things. So we look at these different problems. Wheat, it changes the blood flow inside of the brain. It can give you cognitive dysfunction. It can give you symptoms of dementia. It can give you neurological impairment problems. And there's just not a way to test that thing. So this is why it's so important to understand this. And the only way you can really test food intolerances is through muscle testing. It's only a way that's accurate because there's no lab source to do it. So if we go back over this, food intolerances is a huge part of everybody's life when they have chronic illness. Allergies is a small subset, and allergies only take 2 to 3% of the potential responses the foods have. The rest are intolerance responses. They have no idea what the mechanisms are, no way to test them. They cause all kinds of destruction inside of the gut, makes the gut leak. That allows toxicity to go out through the entire body, creates autoimmune response to the gut wall, the rest of the body, dysregulates our hormones and creates a huge autoimmune response patterns going on in the whole body. So we really need to deal with this. So this Dr. Brad, Your Health Reclaimed. We release these every Monday and Thursday. Stay tuned. We're going to have to cover detox pathways real soon because it ties in with this too. So Thank you. Click the button, follow us, leave a review. That helps other people find us. Have a great day.